the room key he used as a bookmark, the night the author suite kept our place. At 9:03 p.m., I opened his book to the exact sentence he'd underlined that morning and out slid a keycard like a confession that knew how to lie flat. It was the kind of hotel key that pretends to be art. Matte black, a thin silver border, a title scrolled in copper serif across the top, the palimpsest, and beneath it, a line only a designer would insist on: Author Suite. When I tilted it toward the kitchen light, a blue diode winked, delicate and sure, as if the card had a pulse and trusted mine to match. Noah had left it 8 in the jacket that flatters him even when mirrors are Christians about it. Wrap toast, he'd said, 2 words that make celebration sound like a calendar entry. Notes with Adrian after. Don't wait. Adrian is sound design. He carries microphones like secrets and listens without moving his face, which makes people mistake stillness for mercy. The cinnamon thing warming in the oven pretended to be a plan. The apartment's light climbed the wall in tidy squares and refused to narrate me. I set the key on the counter beside the bottle we'd meant to open on a better night and reread the sentence he'd underlined to disguise the key's work. Sometimes I think all my life has been rumor, the line went, and the author's name, someone clever with a grudge, sat 3 inches above the place where I pressed my thumb. I slid the card into my pocket. I didn't text him. The distance between a thumb and a decision can be a cliff. The palimpsest is one of those renovated literary hotels that make cities pretend they have better pretenses. The lobby does velvet well. Brass has been taught posture. A pianist in the corner practiced the absence of blame. The concierge looked up with the professional mercy of someone who counts confessions like tips and spends neither where a stranger can watch. "Good evening," she said, as if evening and goodness were in a relationship. "May I?" "I'm meeting someone in the author suite," I said, and held up the key card because objects are a language when people cannot be trusted. "Of course." She smiled, the kind of yes that understands ledgers. "Private lift, second bank." The lift smelled faintly of cedar edited for indoor use. The mirror wrote my name backward and attached a question mark. 9 floors flicked by in the compressed grammar of an alibi. When the doors parted, the hallway carpeted itself in hush. A plaque announced author suite in copper letters determined not to age. Beside the door, a thin red eye waited for instructions. I pressed the card to the reader and listened to the latch learn forgiveness. Inside smelled expensive and undecided, citrus trying to be mercy, whiskey performing loyalty, lilies hired to look casual. The city was all window. The living room had been staged for people who believe they are incidents, not consequences. A book lay open on the low table, spine cracked at a paragraph I recognized from a fight we'd had about whether prose counts as apology. On the bar cart, 2 coupe glasses held their line even empty, and a bottle of gin waited like a man pretending not to need company. I didn't call out. The bedroom door stood half open the way a mouth does when it wants to be interrupted, but doesn't know by whom. I moved to the window and watched the river get away with lying about direction. My reflection floated there a second before the door behind me breathed, and the room tried a new sentence on for size. Noah stepped into the light with his jacket off and his shirt open 1 button beyond daytime. He saw me the way you see a mirror you trust, first as yourself, then as news. Behind him, Adrian stood in the doorway with his hands at his sides, not pretending to leave, not daring to stay, the elegance of a man rehearsed as furniture. The lilies had the decency not to smell louder. "Evan," Noah said, my name with the softness of a receipt. "Your book is generous," I said, because humor is the leash I use to keep panic from running into the street. I flipped the key card and the diode winked. "It marked your place." Silence did its competent thing. Adrian lowered his eyes in that way that says both you're not wrong and I know what my job is. He angled toward the hall, which is the smartest direction a third person can choose without becoming a door. Stay, I said. It surprised me that I meant it. If I wanted theater, I would have texted. Adrian paused, not quite turning back, exactly the amount of decency required to keep a room from lying about itself. Noah glanced at the ceiling corner where cameras pretend not to exist. He nodded toward the balcony as if air might agree to be neutral on short notice. The terrace attached itself to the city's lungs the way hotels like to. Ductwork hummed like anxious crickets. The river staged a music video for the moon and refused to apologize. A small iron table kept its counsel. Noah leaned both palms on the rail, then opened them as if unfolding a plan he didn't want to admit he'd drawn. I lied when I left, he said. He doesn't waste adjectives when he's decided to be correct. Rap happened. People used their best grammar on goodbye. I told myself I wanted 30 minutes where being interesting didn't have to go through customs. Which direction did you file that? I asked. Because names are handles and I like my hands full when the floor tilts. Adrian, he said. He hears what I turned down. Adrian remained by the door to the terrace, stillness like a strategy. He did not apologize because he has the taste not to. He did not dare me because he isn't a fool. He gave me the nod men give when they've chosen to be furniture on purpose. Are you sleeping with him? The question is a cliff. There isn't a scenic route. You count to one and make your mouth earn your name. Not yet, Noah said, clean, immediate. Then lower, the honesty that knows exactly which muscle to bruise. I brought my mouth. The night found the open part of my shirt and stayed. I wanted to be furious in a way that would qualify as self-respect. The body has its own agenda, and none of it consults with dignity. I lifted 2 fingers to the soft place at Noah's wrist where men keep their apologies. His pulse wrote my name there without permission. His eyes closed the way doors do when they want to be touched. You like wanting that proves something kindness can't, I said. I did not make it cruel. Cruelty is the lazy cousin of precision. You treat intimacy like a sport and honesty like off-season training. You like to coach, he said, and one corner of his mouth attempted a bad idea and failed politely. Which is unfair and how we survived the early seasons. What do you want? I asked. Now not the apology you rehearsed for daylight. He stepped that last narrow distance that had turned into a lie while we were speaking. Heat reached me through cotton. His voice arrived on my lower lip. I want to go home with you, he said. I want you to want me where our towels remember us and desire doesn't have a designer. Adrian exhaled, a small sound, not approval, oxygen doing its work. In our reflection, we looked thinner than truth. I used my mouth to correct proportion. The first kiss wasn't hunger. It was relief, and relief is an appetite you can walk home. He leaned into it like a debt that feels good to pay. My palm slid under his shirt to the heat at the small of his back where his body keeps its best arguments. He made the low sound he doesn't know how to perform on cue. The glass beyond us pretended to mind its own business. I stopped before the room could pretend to be a witness. He rested his forehead against mine the way punctuation keeps grammar honest. Inside, a door agreed to be quiet. Adrian turned away and studied the lilies as if they wanted to be defended. He had the good manners to vanish by the time we came back through the bedroom. A coaster on the bar cart had acquired a phone number in steady handwriting, and the instruction lock behind you. We took the private lift down because mirrors hadn't earned our trust. The concierge smiled the way accountants do when ledgers balance. Outside, weather declined to put us in a paragraph. I liked it better for that. At home, The cinnamon had performed loyalty beyond reason. We ate the thing we didn't deserve standing up at the counter because chairs felt like ceremony and we'd already attended enough rehearsals. He watched my mouth the way some men watch clock hands at the end of a shift, hopeful, resigned, grateful. I slid my palm under his shirt again and found heat the way you find in a dress that belongs to you. He leaned in, gratitude making him heavier than guilt. We were careful in bed, not the kind that kills heat, the kind that knows how to fold it. He knows where to put his palm on my ribs so the rest of me turns without writing a manifesto. I know where his shoulder hides when it doesn't want to confess and how to coax it into telling the truth with weight. I won't draw you a map. I'll tell you the room remembered to breathe, and that the morning forgave us because it had other work to do. We slept the sleep that has terms and conditions. Morning buttoned a clean shirt on our choices. He made coffee the way he does when he wants me to listen. I opened the windows to see if Mercy could afford our rent. The keycard sat between us like a witness who couldn't decide whether it wanted to testify. He started with small truths because small truths keep larger ones from falling over. The notes had run long. The view made the city feel negotiable. Adrian's attention had the grammar he'd wanted to try on. He ran out of script and reached for something I could keep. He said he is tired of being interesting for a living, that he wanted to be wanted the way stupid teenagers are, earnest, badly lit, forgiven in advance. He said he imagined my mouth more than once on that terrace and felt ashamed of the math. He said he was sorry like a man who knows sorry is a tool, not an eraser. I did not forgive him at the table. Forgiveness is a daylight animal and morning's charge. I told him to put on the coat that doesn't belong to literary hotels and walk with me to the canal where water lies about Paris, and we let it. On the bench, we watched gulls fail cheerfully at precision. He hooked his thumb in my pocket like humility. I let him. 2 afternoons later, I saw Adrian in a lobby that smelled like lemon and ambition. He gave me the nod men give when they have chosen to be furniture on purpose. He didn't apologize and I didn't deputize. We shared an elevator mirror that spelled our names backward and told no lies I felt obligated to correct. It isn't that we agreed. It's that we learned how to read ourselves both ways. The palimpsest still keeps its little rectangles. I don't trust their weight or my pocket. I trust the smell of cinnamon at 4. The square of light climbing our wall like it has something to recommend. The heat under his shirt at the small of his back when my hand decides to remember. If another key ever falls out of a book and tries to teach me a stranger's elevator, I will do what I did that night. Find the air, choose kissing over theater, walk him home with my hand at the part of his body that knows the address, and teach our door, gently, stubbornly, with as many mistakes as it takes, to open from the inside.